has joined. Manisha has joined.
Join?
Yeah, Manisha Gola.
Let me just ask her, are you there?
Okay. Hello, Ankita.
Hi, Maithili. What's up? So good to see
Great.
you.
How are you? Same here. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just celebrating Dhanteras today.
Oh, yes. That's the best thing. Holiday.
పంపించిన కదా బుడ్డోకు
Hi, Nita. How are you? Taranum, Isha, so many
Very
known
well.
faces.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. So happy to see you. So many known faces. Vandana. Hi, Kamna.
మేడం केला
I was being able to see myself on screen. Yeah, I got it.
Class रबर still हो जाएगा किसी
Good evening, everyone. Please keep your microphones on mute. Akash,
Yes,
you
we
there?
can start, Maitli.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So, before we begin, I would like to take a moment to wish everyone a happy Diwali on behalf of Library Solutions, which is powered by Central Books, a very well-known name in education industry. And also, I hope everyone enjoyed our last three webinars. We would love to hear your feedback on them. Did you find the sessions useful? Please fill our feedback forms, which are shared post webinars. It helps us to identify where we can improve and how we can share the knowledge about the libraries and educating students on librarians. Okay, and it's a humble request. It will be also useful to get the certificates. So please make sure that the feedback forms are filled on the very same day. So thank you. I hand over the call to Maitli.
Thank you. Thank you, Akash. Hello, everyone. My
स्क्रैप करवानी
name
हाँ
is
I don't think you can hear Maithili. A little introduction about the Librarian. Librarian Association is a group of global librarians, global community of media librarians, and we are here to serve and support librarians through our library courses and various collaborations with Central Books as well as Library Solutions. We have a conference coming up soon in Delhi in December. You're welcome to join and be there in live. We are going to have a 2-day workshop. One day is going to be a pre-conference, which is understanding the role of an international school librarian. The second day, Saturday, we have a library conference for all CBSE, IGCSE, and IB librarians. And on Saturday, if you are an IB or a supervisor or a librarian willing to learn about extended essay, the new guide, you're welcome to join us on Saturday. In January 2026, we will be holding a library conference again at the Oak Ridge School in Bengaluru. With that, I'd like to invite you all for today's session, which is going to be talking about graphic novels, and none other than our fabulous Nirupama Kaushik. And welcome everybody, and welcome Nirupama, and thank you for being a part of this collaboration. Over to you, Nirupama.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Hiru. And really a big thank you to everybody for being here. I know the holiday season has started, but you've come here, and I hope we're going to have a great session, a lot of interaction, and a lot of fun. Because if we don't have fun, we don't learn. So let's have tons of fun together. Uh, I'll be talking about graphic novels today. Just to share a little bit about myself, I am a library educator based in Mumbai, and I have been in the field of libraries for the last 8 years. Before that, I've been a classroom teacher, and I figured that libraries are my calling. So that is why everything that I do today is related to the library and reading and getting children away from gadgets and exploring books and all these other nice things. So we're good to go. Small disclaimer that the topic that I've chosen today actually has a lot to share, but I will be touching upon whatever is possible in 1 hour. So we have to look at it from that angle also, that everything may not get covered today, but I do hope it leaves you with curiosity to explore more on your own. So here we are exploring graphic novels, and let's go. Hiru and Maitri, I just need a little help to just let me know if people have questions and checking the chat box, because that sometimes
Yes.
becomes a little difficult on Zoom.
Yes, Nirupama. Thank you.
Great. All right. So let's see. What we're going to be looking at today is at a definition of graphic novels and what all we think it is, what all it actually isn't, plus looking at visual and textual storytelling techniques. We look at reading panels critically, and also how do we use graphic novels in the library. So I know it's super exciting, and the minute we hear about graphic novels, we want to draw, but if I can request everyone not to annotate on the screen, thank you. So let's begin from here. So when I hear graphic novel, I think of, and if you could put it out in the chat, what do you think of when you hear the term graphic novel? You could even unmute if that works for you.
May I, Nirupama?
Oh,
Ankita?
go ahead, please. Yeah.
Yeah, so graphic novel as a layman, if I'm not a librarian. So it is the first thing that comes to my mind is comics.
Okay.
It has to be funny. It's something that we have been reading since childhood, something like Chacha Chaudhary.
Sure. Great. Thank you. Great answer.
Yeah.
Nita says Persepolis mouse. Mamita says storyboard. Taranam says illustrations. Darpana says glossy paper. Banu says images. Comic strip. Stories with graphic. Sumit says pictures. Tintins. Comic books, great illustrations, easy read, visual stories, images. It says the story.
So it's all of that. It's all of that, and we're going to be exploring it. But the one word that I would hold on to is this big word called comics. So we just got a bit of an understanding about what graphic novels may be, but when you hear the word comics, what comes to your mind? You can unmute.
Illustrated story, says Rajendra. Divija says, just comics, funny. Amar Chitrakatha, illustrations, something funny in pictures. Comics means funny, action, says Darpana. Amrita says story through pictures.
Great. So just moving on, we all have this idea about comics in our mind. And when we
Somebody
think
had the
of
word
it,
manga as well.
somebody had the word manga also. Okay, thanks, Hiro. When we think of comics traditionally, these are the few things that do come to our mind. Very rightly, the way all of you said, that they're funny strips in newspapers, Archie, uh, Tinker, Calvin and Holmes, all of that. We also have superhero stories, if you know, whether it's the Avengers, Batman, DC versus Marvel, all of that happening. We also often think of it as children's entertainment with simple plots, bright colors, and humor. A lot of you mentioned a lot of comics remind you of humor also, and it should be funny, funny, funny. And we think of it as light reading and not serious literature. We also think that it's unsuitable for academic or intellectual engagement. Do you agree with those last two statements? Or even if you don't agree, is it something that you've thought about when it comes to comics?
Yes. Sindhu says no.
We may have thought about it, we may have not thought about it, but
Yes.
very often,
Manivraj says yes. Darpana says no. Preeti says no. Sumitra says yes. No. So we have a combinations of yes and no's, partially.
a big combination of yes and no. But very often, the assumption is that this is for light reading and it's not serious literature. And we have been asked in our library work about why do children really even need graphic novels or comics in the library. Now, what I want a request from all of you right now is to think of, yes, the strip form called as comics. Think of that, keep that to the side. And now let's look at comics as an art form. So what does it actually mean to draw a comic? What do comics do for us? All of those things, what goes into making a comic? Let's keep our earlier definition of comics to the side. And now we're just going to explore what it is as an art form. Let's start with this picture. So what do you see? Just describe plainly what you see in this picture.
She's trying to catch the bus.
Okay, and any other clues that the picture is giving you?
A girl running to catch a bus. Child is on the bus stop.
Okay.
It is a school bus.
What makes you feel
Happy
it's
to
a
go to
school bus?
school. A girl saying bye to her parents.
All right.
Because
But you mentioned
she
school
holds
bus.
a
Why do you
bag.
think it's a
This
school
is a
bus?
School
bus stop.
bag. Holding books.
It looks like a
Bag.
school bag and she's holding books. What about her facial expression?
She's happy.
She looks happy, set for the day. Great. Now, when you look at, keep this picture in your mind, and we're going to move on to something else. Now, what happens?
She missed the bus.
How do you know that she's missed the bus?
The
Face
bus is running
expression.
and she's trying to stop it, but in vain.
Face expression.
Okay, facial expression. How do you know that the bus is moving?
It's written the bus looked at distance because of her face is sad. Lines showing bus gone.
Amrita
There's
says
2
line
lines
showing
trying to
his bus
stop
is
the bus.
gone.
Or maybe she
So-
has dropped somebody and said bye as she looks happy.
So in just one shift, she probably looks a little, she looks happy to say hi, and then she looks sad, maybe someone else is gone. But there's something, like somebody pointed out, that right under the bus over here, there are
2
a couple
lines
of
under the
lights.
bus, yes.
Maybe she has dropped somebody.
Maybe she's dropped somebody.
It means the bus is going.
Some activity
It
of the
means
bus
the bus
going
is
is
moving
making her,
fast.
the bus is moving fast, and some activity of that is making her feel sad. So we don't know, but what we're going to focus on is that when you just saw it as a single picture, it was just the information that that picture gave you. But when we added one more picture next to that, suddenly what do you have over here? What shifted?
There is a story here. You could interpret it the way you want. You could look at it as somebody missing the bus, somebody, waving off somebody, saying.
Absolutely.
You
So
could,
what? Go ahead.
Events happening, somebody mentions change in the story, a series of events.
So there
Need
is.
that-
Yeah, go ahead, Hero. Sorry.
Sorry, storyline is added with another picture.
And that's exactly what happened, right? When it was a single picture, it was just a picture. But the minute we added one more picture next to that, you suddenly have a story. You suddenly see movement. You suddenly see time has moved ahead. And there is also something which we teach children a lot in storytelling about sequencing. And this is exactly what pictorial representation of stories do for us. And would you say you were reading?
Libra line.
Watching picture,
Yes, says
narrating.
yes. So were you reading? Yes or no?
no, we were imagining. Only bus stop I read, and the rest was imagination.
Somebody says picture and expression, crafting a story, creating a story.
Anuj says it probably connects one picture to another picture. I think Nirupama left.
Yeah, she dropped off. Yes, let's
Yeah.
continue.
Give us a minute.
Yes, and in the story it says, somebody says it's all about reading interpretations, creating a story, making meaning, and we are reading the events. Yes, Monisha, you have something to say?
Yeah, this is, of course, pictorial reading. We are reading, but we are reading a picture. So the picture is speaking to us.
Yes, it's
You
all
can
about reading,
define it.
reading, interpretation, and other things.
Right.
Okay,
We just wait for her to come back. I think something is happening.
Monisha is raising her hand. Monisha is raising her hand. Okay. Now.
So like she said that graphic comics, graphic novels, whatever she's going to talk about is about looking at illustrations and comics in a different perspective. So when we think about a story, we think of a series of events, we think about a character, we think about events and a beginning, middle, and end. Do you think that was there in this sequence? Just two sequences, two images? What do you think? Yay, Nirupama's back.
Sorry. Yeah, internet woes. So coming back to the question, we saw sequence, we saw a storyline, all of that. Do you feel you were reading? Yes, no?
Yes. Amrita says yes, and we have some
Pictures we have
answers.
created.
Yes.
Exactly. So there is so this is what comics do for us, or the art
Reading
form
through
of
picture.
the art form of comics. This is what it does for us, that we are able to bring out different kinds of emotions. We are able to put a sequence to it. We're able to bring a storyline. And did anyone have that question of, okay, what's going to happen next? Is anyone curious to know? Are you curious to know what's going to happen next, or this much of the story is fine?
Maybe she'll wait for another bus.
Maybe. We don't know. only if the makers
Yeah.
have something extra to tell us. But there is a pause over there for us to think about what might happen next. So what happens as when stories come out as comics and in the picture form? It's basically visual storytelling as an art form that combines images and text, and they're arranged in sequence to convey ideas, emotions, and narratives. And there is a unique grammar to this. So what I was using the term picture, but there is a very specific vocabulary when we attempt to read comics, which we will also go through as the session progresses. But what it basically does to have all these elements coming together is that it creates meaning through the relationship between what is shown and what is left unsaid. And a lot of that, all of you were interpreting when you just saw just two panels. So now let's move on to really seeing just an example that if anyone feels that this is a very new age thing or, it is something that has come up only in the recent years, this slide is just a reminder that we have forever and ever and ever told our stories through pictures. So this is right from across the world, whether it is the Bhimbetka caves, whether it is the Bayeux Tapestry from France, whether it is Aboriginal rock art from Australia. We have used pictures forever to tell our stories. It's only that you can think of it as the message is the same, but the messenger or the vessel in which we're receiving it today is a little different. The best definition I have found of comics and this art form is that if someone would like to read it, it'll be nice if another voice is heard. Anybody, if anyone can just unmute and read out the definition.
May I?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. So juxtapose pictorial and other images in deliberate sequence intended to convey information and or to produce an aesthetic response in the viewer by Scott McCloud.
Scott McCloud is perhaps the guru of comics and graphic novels. The definition is taken from this beautiful book of his. And in one word, I think he is amazing. So when we put this art form into telling longer narratives and bringing out stories that evoke an emotional response, an aesthetic response from all of us, that pretty much is called a graphic novel. So here we have it that a graphic novel is a long form narrative that uses the language of comics, sequential art, panels, gutters, and visual cues to tell complex stories. It combines the pacing of literature with the visual rhythm of art, offering readers both text to read and images to interpret. The example that we used, of course, did not have any text with it, but you were all reading. You were trying to pick up the visual clues. You were trying to see what happens next. You were looking at the sequence. You were looking at her facial expressions, all of that. So you were reading. And just to break this down into different parts, graphic novels are slightly different from the comic strips that we use because they are longer and more complex, and they have a more developed storyline and form a complete narrative. So it could be a complete story that is told to us in the form of these panels of text and images. They're usually published in the style of a novel rather than a magazine. Where we know that, certain comic strips that come in newspapers and magazines, a graphic novel comes as an independent book. They're written for different audiences on a variety of themes. So earlier, the understanding was that it was only written for adults, but actually graphic novels are written for all age groups, right? You can start from very young children going on to young adults also. They might delve deeper into character development, including more detailed backstories and conflict. So if you actually even read any popular comic, like if you read any of the popular comic books and things, you will also see that there is a backstory to it. They add a lot more, whether it's a memoir. There is a lot going on in those books. And they cover an array of genres. Now, just a huge clarification here that graphic novels are a format, they are not a genre. Under graphic novels, you could have lots and lots of different genres. You could have science fiction, you could have memoir, you could have an autobiography, you could have a biography. So please think of it as a format and not a genre. Of course, for the ease of access in a library, sometimes we give them their own section so that children or other users find it easier to access these books. It's very similar to picture books again, that over time they have become a kind of genre, but they're actually a format because a picture book can cover a number of different themes. So, like we said, we use text, we use images, and while we will enjoy reading these stories, we must be familiar with the meta language needed to analyze them. Because, like I told you in the beginning, they have their own vocabulary, and it's important for us as educators to understand that and see how that works along with the reading that we do of these books. So, what are the core components? Anybody has any ideas to share on this? What could be the core components? Or shall we just jump into it?
Panels.
Yes, please.
Somebody
Panels.
says panels.
Panels.
Expression.
Expression
Panels.
panels.
Gutter.
Gutter. Okay. So we'll just go step by step. Now, again, there are tons of things to discuss in this, but I'm just sticking to the basics of this vocabulary so that we all have the time to do a little bit of reading also. So to start with the structure, like you all guessed, panel is nothing but that individual frame that consists of one image or depicting one moment that is going on in the story. So the first picture that I showed you of the girl getting to the bus stop was a single panel. But the space between those panels where you have one here and the other just placed next to it, that becomes the gutter. And actually, if you think about it, just to make our thinking a little more visible and aware for us, nobody told us what the girl was feeling in the second panel, but we did all that thinking between those two panels and we did it right in the gutter. So gutters become very, very important to pace our story for us as readers to infer what is happening next. And it also tells us whether the story is going to go, the pace of the story is going to be slow, whether it's going to be fast, etc. Or how are we going to interpret what's happening in this? For example, if you look at just the first part, the yellow panels, it looks kind of orderly. But if you look at the panels at the gutter and the panels at the bottom, what's the feeling that you get? What's your emotional response, or what kind of an aesthetic response do you get to that?
Action, some kind of action. That's what.
Some kind of action.
Yeah.
What else? Would it be slow paced? Would it be fast?
Dramatic.
Dramatic.
Exciting.
Exciting. And if you look at it, there are no pictures in that panel, but you're getting all that information just by observing the gutter. So the gutter becomes
fast. They're giving all those answers for you.
Exactly. So that's the feeling that you get. So the gutter becomes very important about how we interpret the story and how we take it ahead. Of course, then you also have the arrangement of panels on the page, which is the page layout. So sequentially, how the story is moving. Sometimes, authors are very kind to us that they'll put an arrow to show us the direction that we should read this panel next. So again, how the story progresses. One of my favorite features of a graphic novel. This is called a splash page. And by definition, it's that single image that fills the entire page, often used for dramatic effect. What all can you see happening over here? Does this look quite dramatic? You could unmute and answer. What do you think is happening here?
She's scared.
Yeah, she's looking a little scared. I think I would be too.
She is cried. I think she's crying.
Maybe she's crying.
Lots of monster. One of the answer from the chat box.
Lots of monsters.
She's in her closet
Bad
and she's
dream.
trying on some clothes.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't know what suits her and what she missed. So it's the monsters in her mind that keep telling her this looks nice and this doesn't, change your clothes and whatever. So she's in a closet with lots of thoughts in her mind.
Maybe she's confused.
Maybe she's confused. So you see again, the text is
I
so
think
minimal, but
she has an illusion. She's all in her mind. Those pictures just in her mind.
again, but it's so beautifully depicted in terms of showing the drama that's happening in her head, the confusion, the chaos, all of that. Now,
Yes,
just
very effective, very expressive.
yes, and just to show you a little bit of reference. On the side, I left the panels or the page layout over here for you to have a look. Do you think that this drama could have been caught in a smaller panel? Can you, just for you to think about the difference, what happens when you put a full-blown page out there versus just putting it on in those tiers of different panels? What works better?
தூங்குட்ட மாதிரி அன்னைக்கு மூணு
Any thoughts about that? Or was it okay for the author to have just made a small panel about it, just one page with different panels on it?
Darpana says it is the intensity that
Impact.
adds volume to the drama. Somebody else says, Shilpa says impact is more. And they're just describing roller girl is in shock.
Yeah.
Dead girl with monsters, screaming, crying. These are improved thinking skills and imagination, says Swarna.
Exactly. So keeping that in mind, we're moving ahead with something known as a double spread. And a double spread is nothing but where you have a picture that spans across two facing pages. Now, if you can see this particular picture, you do have that water body over there, and you have people coming out from it, but there's a whole lot happening in this image that's on the screen. So it's clearly showing you that we need a lot of space to say something extremely important. Again, the same thing conveyed in a smaller, in just one or two panels, they may have not had that effect. Now that we've got the basics of structure out there, we're now moving on to looking at visual text. And this is where visual literacy, understanding tone, emotion, mood, all of that comes into the picture, which again, graphic novels are a great vehicle for this. Right now, we're talking about so many different forms of the way people read. And this visual literacy being a huge one, which we're slowly starting to pay more attention to. For example, we look at speech bubble. And a speech bubble is nothing but a character saying the dialogue aloud. Moving on to the thought bubble, which if you can see here, it's a cloud and not the rounded shape that the speech bubble is given. This basically handles the character's inner thoughts. So I might think something, but I may not necessarily say it. And these become important for us to then realize how, when we read a graphic novel, how are we doing it exactly? And then, of course, the caption box that comes on top, which contains narration, setting information, or dialogue not spoken by a character. So that kind of gives us the timeline as the story is progressing, things that none of the characters are really saying. Just keep these in mind because we have an exercise post this. We also look at lettering in a graphic novel, which tells us about the tone, volume, or emotion through typography. So let's just look at the first one. And please think of them separately. They're not a related conversation or anything of that sort. It's just to give you an example. If you look at the first speech bubble, it says, let's meet for lunch. What tone is getting conveyed through that? Or what emotion is getting conveyed through that?
Someone says, Momita says casual.
Casual, okay.
Full pages giving more. Someone says maybe request. Normal day-to-day conversation.
Normal day-to-day conversation. So nothing dramatic about it. Nothing, it's very normal, very everyday. What about the next one where the letters say NO? If anyone wants to try reading it out with what the kind of emotion it probably conveys, please try.
Angry. Modulation.
How do you know that perhaps this person is angry?
Anger. Most of them have expressed anger, aggregated emotions.
Why do you feel it's a negative emotion?
Jagged line shows the anger. By the word get out, a strong emotion with capitalization of a text, impactful.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. So see how our brain processes things. They're just simple words. Maybe get out is a little, it's self-explanatory in a couple of ways. But if you look at the word no, if you look at the jagged lines at the bottom, it's actually where do you see lines like that? What does it remind you of when you see these lines that I'm circling around?
Shock.
Maybe shock, maybe
Shout,
Strong
thriller.
emotions.
strong emotions, but what kind of emotion?
Angry.
Angry?
Inconsistency.
Inconsistency. That's interesting. Why do you feel so?
See, my interpretation to those lines is like a thought process. If it's not going on a straight line, moves up and down as he or her mind works on, this type of lines may appear because they're ups and downs, because there's no consistency.
All right, that's a very interesting interpretation. Usually with graphic novels, this kind of a bubble comes in when somebody is being very cold. So this sort of resembles how ice when it's frozen, how it can become like the peaks can become. So it represents when someone is being absolutely indifferent and very cold towards somebody. That's when they usually use that speech bubble. What about this one? I'd like you to focus on the font. The third one in the row.
Surprise. Like
Why do you
boom.
feel it's surprising? Boom. Boom.
Loud, fear, fun, sound, all
Loud.
those.
Fear, fun, exactly. Great. We look at Get Out. I think all of us figured that one out. What about this last one? Because they're dotted lines. And even if you, to just bring your attention to it, even the color is slightly lighter. The color of
Confusion.
the font.
Confusing.
Confused.
Confused.
Inner
Trying
thought.
to stay in your mind.
So if it was in your mind, it would have been a
Confused
cloud.
and
It would have been
thinking
a
You're
thought
telling
bubble
something.
in
it
a
very
cloud.
softly. You're telling
You're
it
saying
very
it
Confused and
very
thinking something.
softly. You're thinking and saying it really softly, so you're probably whispering and not saying it aloud to anybody. You don't want anyone else to know that you can't find something. So great. So again, to just show you the scale of what all happens in a graphic novel, it's not just pictures and simple storytelling. The other thing that they also bring in is onomatopoeia, which is again like this. Of course, if you've in English classes, we do it through poetry and everything, but usually onomatopoeia is also about giving this dramatic effect, bringing sounds into the reading. It's exactly words that describe or the words that imitate the sounds that they describe. So if you look at the word zap, for example, zapping someone, it's happening super fast and slightly in a zigzag manner. Or when we say wow, the expression really looks wow. So, and vroom, what about vroom? When you read vroom, what is the feeling that you get?
Speedy. Somebody says speedy.
Speed.
Yeah.
Speed.
Running
Exactly.
fast.
Great. So these are again things that we use to understand vocabulary and how do we read a graphic novel. Moving on, we also look at the elements of art, which when we work with picture books, this also comes in over there, but then there's so many different things. You look at how the mood is being conveyed, what kind of colors has the author used, the illustrator used, the setting, the emotion. You're looking at the framing of different perspectives. What does it look like? How is the picture coming to be? What's the composition? All of that. And it also helps us to understand as a reader, what am I to notice first? What am I not noticing? So all of those things also help us read the graphic novel. And then, of course, there is symbolism. Certain things that are recurring images with cultural or narrative meaning. So it may be in the context of certain culture, language, people, different things, where certain pictures stand for something else. There is also something very interesting that graphic novels do, which is known as emanator. Now, emanator are graphic symbols or marks that appear around the characters' heads or bodies. So if you look at the first person, what's happening? What is that person feeling? How is he feeling?
Sad, crying,
Crying, sad.
sweating
And
because
so,
of
yeah, if you felt he
sadness.
was crying, I just want you to look at these marks that are on the side over here.
Hot, exhausted, drained, worried,
So most
sweating.
likely that's
Sweat, yes.
showing that he's sweating. What about these two people in the second picture?
In love.
Love.
In love, yeah.
Yes, love each other.
So, of course, the third one is again pretty simple to figure out.
Tired.
What about the... Sorry,
Thinking. He's thinking something.
Tired.
the
So
third picture, do you feel he's looking tired?
Grumpy,
picture.
He's angry.
Angry. Third picture is
Looks
angry.
Angry, stubborn.
Angry,
Angry.
stubborn,
Angry mood.
and if
yeah,
angry mode.
grumpy.
And what about the girl on top?
Innovative, logical, some ideas.
Some
You got
ideas,
some
right?
Some
This
ideas.
this type
got
of
some
picture
ideas.
we have in encyclopedias and
Encyclopedia.
thinking actually. And the
Exactly.
facts, giving facts.
Now, the interesting thing is that all of us, nobody knows, right? It's not written over there to confirm what we're thinking. But in some sense, we all know we're right because we brought our previous experience, brought that to our reading, and to understand that whenever we see that little bulb on top, we know it's about thinking, an idea, something, innovative happening, etc. So see how symbols become so close to how we think. And if you see the last one, is this a happy dog?
He saw his
You-
boss.
But just individually on its own, do you think that the dog is happy?
He's wagging his tail. क्या
How
हुआ?
do you know he's wagging his tail?
Because the lines are there behind.
Exactly. So that is what Emanator does for us, that it helps us understand these emotions in a slightly deeper manner. So now what we're going to quickly do is we're going to read. So let's start with the first one to really see the power of graphic novels. If I can have someone just read this page. It's from this beautiful book by Lois Lowry called The Giver. So it must have in every library, but please, if somebody can read the first page. Just go ahead, unmute and start.
Chapter 1. It was almost December, and Jonas was beginning to be frightened. No, wrong word. Jonas thought. Frightened meant that deep, sickening feeling of something terrible about to happen. Frightened was the way he had felt a year ago, when an unidentified aircraft had overflown the community twice. He had been it both times. Squinting towards the sky, he had been the sleek jet, almost a blur at its high speed, go past, and a second later heard the blast of sound that followed. Then, no more time, a moment later, from the opposite direction, the same plane. At first, he had been only fascinated. He had never.
Yeah, so we'll stop at first he had only been fascinated. When you read this text, what emotions come to your mind, or what's the visualization of this text? What can you see? What are your senses able to pick up? Or any pictures that are forming in your mind. For what does Jonas look like?
Anxiety, scary, mystery,
So
worry.
there's a little bit of gloom, anxiety, mystery. All right, great inference. What
Frightened
else?
is something is going to happen.
Something is going to happen. So there's something
frightening.
frightening. We can take one more answer and then I'll quickly move on.
Incoming danger, past, not
Incoming.
wanting to move out of comfort.
Great.
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty, absolutely. All right, so what we're going to look at next is this. Can someone just read it out? Anybody? I'm willing to give 5,000 points to anyone
Font
who
is
wants
too
to read
small,
this.
actually.
All right,
I can't read.
Okay, I'll read it out then, no problem. It was
Yeah,
almost
thank you.
December and Jonas was beginning to be frightened. No, wrong word. Frightened was the way he had felt last year when an unidentified aircraft had overflown the community twice. He had seen it both times. He had seen it both times. He had seen the sleek jet, almost a blur at its high speed, go past. And a second later, heard the blast of sound that followed. And then one more time, the same plane. Notice any similarities?
Anxiety and fear is visible through the picture.
Somewhere
Sure.
war is going on.
But before we get into that, what's similar between what we read earlier and this piece?
Feeling, I guess, we can feel the fear of what he's thinking. We can also think the same.
Yeah, so this is nothing but
I am
just the
thinking the
graphic.
same.
It's the same text, but this is represented through pictures in the graphic novel version of this book. And what you've said, about feeling anxiety, etc. Which one does either page evoke a stronger emotion in you? Do you feel more connected to one of the forms?
Yes, connected is the right word.
So which one do you feel more connected to?
With the picture, of course.
Why?
It gives more clarity.
Okay, there's more clarity.
The
And clarity in
visuals are
terms of
creating impact on us.
the visuals are
reader,
creating an
of course.
impact on you. Absolutely.
Yeah, but in first reading, in first page,
Yeah,
we
sorry, go ahead.
imagine. And imagination can be anything, as varies from person to person. But here it is clear what the person is thinking particularly.
Absolutely. And did anyone else in the first page, did anybody else think of any other person apart from Jonas? Or was only Jonas the only character you thought of?
Yes.
No, yeah, everybody says no, one character like that.
Only one character. But the minute we move this to a setting or to a graphic novel, our setting becomes more concrete. We're able to see it in the context of this boy living in this town and something dramatic or something scary is going to happen. Also, there's an indication, and I don't know if it's very clear, but can you see the color of Jonas's eyes?
Yes, blue.
Blue?
They look blue.
Blue.
Any reason why the rest of the page has this very black and white sort of thing, and maybe Jonas's eyes are strikingly blue? Could there be something in that? Or just the
maybe
artist
he's
was having
trying-
fun?
To show he's seeing the sky, maybe, or December
Maybe
month.
seeing the sky. So this is where I put my little hook that there is a reason why his eyes are depicted as blue, and for that you have to read the book. I'm not telling you why.
something.
So
Maybe he's
Fear of
watching some.
uncertainty is, we can say, by the blue color.
you may be right. You have to read the book and figure out.
Okay.
So just an experience to give you what reading a text, reading prose versus reading the graphic novel version. And now to continue with our reading, let's look at this one. I'm just going to give you about 30 seconds if you can just go through these pages and just do this independently. So just moving to the question, what did you notice first?
சீக்கிரம் வந்த
What did you notice first on these pages?
Somebody says sparkling eyes.
Sparkling eyes. Great answer. What do you think the characters are feeling?
The prince's despair.
The prince's despair.
Facial expressions.
So many different facial expressions here, right? Some people looking happy, some people looking sad, despair, like Prince isn't not looking happy at all sitting over there. And there's something happening in this picture. Do you think it could probably be because of that? I also want you to, like, what gives me that clue, just to share as an example, is you can see the prince is looking towards something in this panel, and when you move to the next one, it gives you a very different perspective. So immediately as a reader, I feel that his attention is over there because something is happening over there. And of course, I'm not going to tell you. You have to read this book also. The names of all of them will be shared with you later. But just for you to understand that how colors, emotions, expressions, all of that come together in a graphic novel. So it's really not simplistic. It's actually quite a complex task that all of us are undertaking as we read them. What about this one? What are some of the elements of a graphic novel that you can see? You can just shout them out at like popcorn quiz kind of thing, because we learned a couple of technical terms. So what are the ones that you could see over here?
Conversations, exaggerated expressions, panels.
Lettering. You can see the differences,
Dialogue.
especially if you see this last one, right? Look at the lettering there and look at his expressions.
Speech bubbles.
Speech bubbles. Any other kind of bubbles?
Typography, thought bubbles, thinking comment, thoughts, a lot.
Lots of things. And I specifically am using this page to sort of break that myth, because now that you have experienced it yourself, sometimes we look at children and we say, oh my God, they're reading that Dogman forever and they're reading something else forever. But when the truth is, there is so much happening on those pages. It's not just the text that they're reading. They're looking for visual clues. They're looking at expressions. They're looking at color, mood, emotions. There's so much happening in this thing. And this is, again, a great series for that age group. It's called The Investigators. It's about these set of super top secret agent alligators. So you could explore that for your library. But apart from just using a lot of color, there is also symbolism that we use in graphic novels. And if you could just quickly look at this page, just again, calling out whatever you see. Anything striking you a little strange about this? Old world, yes. How did you pick that up?
World War something.
There's certain words that indicate it's towards the World War, black and white. Again, right? When we think of old, we think of black and white.
Deep discussions, prison mystery.
Absolutely. And if you had the time to read the page also, we would see that what they're discussing is not light-hearted conversation. It is actually very serious conversation. And this comes from a very, very famous graphic novel called Maus, written by Art Spiegelman. And his father was a Holocaust survivor, and he captured his father's entire story in the form of this with the artwork in form of this novel. And what he's done here, to just explain a little bit of the symbolism, is that all the Jews in the story are represented as mice. So this is, the author's father, and he's sharing his story, etc. So they're all represented as mice. So the most obvious choice, that all the Nazis are represented as cats, and the cats are after the mice, and all the people from Poland, the Poles, are all represented as pigs. But when you read the story, it is such a heart-wrenching, just the narrative of what he has put together and told his father's story in this style. It breaks your heart and it amazes you at the same time. So, but I've taken this particular example to show you that it doesn't mean graphic novels only have to have lots of color in them, and that's what makes it exciting for reading. They also deal with very serious themes and matters that children should read about, discuss, talk, critical thinking. All of that can also happen through graphic novels. And coming to this part, so reading a graphic novel is reading because we no longer think of reading only as decoding of words. We think of it as meaning making, and that's what they push us to do. It builds visual literacy. It's a 21st century skill. Now we live in a very visual world, and we have to be able to pick up visual clues to understand each other better, to pick up knowledge, to pick up information. We need to see and look very carefully. It strengthens comprehension and vocabulary. Now, at no point, even if you take a book like Investigators, which is for younger children, the vocabulary in that book is really good, and children will notice it because of the characters, the way it is presented, the font, the mood, all of those things. It promotes close and reflective reading. Now, what you all did with the first page when you were reading The Giver was close and reflective reading. Nobody just said, oh, it's a text and that's just about it, right? There was so much of, we're feeling anxiety, I'm able to connect to something. So you are reading this very closely. It motivates and includes diverse readers. The one, I'm so happy somebody did bring it up, saying that reading that picture made it clear, like we were able to visualize better. So it gives an entry point to a lot of readers who are reluctant, who say that heavy texts don't suit them. Graphic novels are a great place to start for them, to get them to just read. And very often when I have a reading gap, I just pick up a graphic novel to keep myself engaged, but I know it is not, I don't maybe have to spend many, many days reading it, but I still gain something out of it. So again, a great choice to diversify how we read. It's also literature told visually, but let's not mistake it to say that it's told simplistically. It is not simple. It's a very complex task to read a graphic novel. And why do libraries need graphic novels? All my reasons are out there. Because, like I said, we can look at critical thinking, we engage reluctant readers, there's promotion, we promote reading for pleasure, we offer diverse voices and perspectives. There are a number of graphic novels today that come out based on people's memoir. And again, making that just those pictures and text and their placement make it very accessible for people to reach and read those stories. There's a beautiful one done by Priya Kurian on Indira Gandhi's life. That's a great place to start for anybody to want to know more about Indira Gandhi. And I'm just using that as an example. There are plenty others. Strengthening comprehension and memory. So picture speaks louder than 1,000 words. Ensure inclusivity and access. Like I said, it gives everybody an opportunity to tell their story. I don't have to be a masterful writer, but my pictures can say a lot. And it holds genuine literary merit. So if anybody ever says we should not be getting graphic novels into our libraries, we need to get them in. We need children to read a wide variety of books, and that's how we make them stronger readers, more empathetic readers, and so on. And how do we use graphic novels? So some of the techniques that I use today are some of the ways that you could use it. But just to share, just getting children to discuss a panel or maybe just a page, or asking them to look at the features and come back to you with that. But we also we start with visibility, where let them be seen. Give them a little bit of, a pride of place in your library so that children are interested and come forward. You can use them in read alouds and in book talks. They work beautifully for that. You can introduce reading challenges, just as you do it for any other book, do it for graphic novels to generate interest. You can integrate them into library lessons. So, for example, if I'm studying about the World War, I can definitely take a book like Mouse to the classroom and get children interested in reading that. Or if I want to, if you want to look at current issues, current affairs, etc., there are many graphic novels based in different geographical locations that people can take into their classroom. It supports cross-curricular learning also. So similar to that, you can also look at working with different subjects. So if you can take a nonfiction book, a textbook, they're learning about animals. So why don't we try and take a graphic novel that talks about animals in different forms, or the characters could be animals. We could look at working through that. You encourage creation. Get children to write their own, make their own comics and pictures. I think it works beautifully because the way they imagine things and they put it down on paper, you'll be surprised at how much thought and processing has taken place when they've done that. And if anyone comes to you saying that graphic novels should not be read and things, please dispel all those myths, because you have experienced for yourself how it is a time-consuming, interesting, very engaging cognitive task. So please dispel all those myths as educators. I'm done for my part because this is what I feel we could start off with for 1 hour. But if there are questions, anything that you would like to ask, we're open for that. But just to show you the screen, that these are the graphic novels that I have used in my PPT. And at the same time, I also just wanted to highlight when we spoke about literary merit. So Mouse was the first graphic novel to win a Pulitzer Prize, which is a huge literary award in the literary world. And it was actually a graphic novel that won the Pulitzer Prize. And in 2024, there was another one that won it for a memoir about a Chinese family. So please get these for your library, enjoy them, and take them to children and read.
So thank you
That's it
so
from
much,
my side.
Nirupama.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have some
Thank you so
questions,
much, ma'am.
Nirupama.
Sure, yeah.
So
Thank
they
you
are
so
saying,
much. It was a very great time that we are learning something new, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
so Nirupama, we have some questions, like suggest some good graphic novels for their libraries. Something, related to like more than Dogman and Cat Kid, more other than that, if you can. So if you can share the list of books or list of graphic novels, that would be great. We can send it to them through email.
Sure, I can do that. I can put a list together and share them with you.
Yep. Any other questions, please let us know. We will share that with Nirupama and then she can get back. We have shared the feedback form. Please fill it up to get the certificate as well. And to also, we will bring up with more sessions if you can tell us what exactly you would like to learn. Thank you so much, Nirupama. It was really great.
Thank you,
We had a
ma'am.
great time.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me here. I love graphic novels, so I'm a master promoter and propagator of reading them. So.
And I'm sure lots and lots of myths are being today, cleared, clarified. We often being a librarians, we keep getting these things that why graphic novels, let's not promote this or let's not keep in our library. But I think this session is very informative with many.
Please, Satya Sai Vidya Vihar High School.
Yes,
Just
so
to
thank you
answer
so much,
one,
Nirupama.
thank you. Just to answer one question that I saw, that is Geronimo's Children considered as a graphic novel. They have come out with a graphic novel version of that book now, but we shelve it under Illustrator chapter book because it has these little pictures and a lot of text. It's not a graphic novel. But now, please, when you go to the shops, you will see the graphic novel of that book. So like I said, it's not a genre, it's a format. So just to clarify, about that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Over
Thank
to
you.
you, Central Books. Akash. Yep. Please fill the form, feedback form, so you'll be getting your
WhatsApp or mail you
certificate as
send?
well. Already it is in the chat box. It is already shared, Miss. Akash, can you please share it again? It just now shared.
My internet connection is not proper.
I'm sharing it here again. This is the feedback form. Please fill it up. Thank you everyone for the fantastic feedbacks. Thank you, Nirupama.
Thank you and happy Diwali, everybody. Happy festivals, all happy seasons, and wishing you all the best.
Oh,
Thank
yes,
you
you
so
too.
much, Nirupama. It was an eye-opening session. Even
Thank you so much,
I was
ma'am.
like not interested in graphic novel, like, but today you have like given me a new perspective to the graphic novel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Happy
Thank
Diwali.
you so much, ma'am. Happy Diwali, ma'am.
Thank you. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.
தம்பி எழுந்துறீங்க
వెళ్ళిపోయారా సారు మాట్లాడేంటాడు
I guess once you fill your form, you're welcome to leave. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely week. And if you have any questions, you can stay back and ask Nirupama some questions if you she'll be here for another few minutes. Thank you, Nirupama.